Snow covered the ruined stones of Caroline Hold. Once a proud human city, now it was only broken towers and silent halls. But deep underground, in the shadows beneath the ruins, something was changing. Cale Thorne moved quietly through the dark tunnels, his boots soft on the frozen ground. He was young, but his eyes were old, full of pain and purpose. Around him, other humans waited, men and women who had lost everything to the elves. They were tired, hungry, and scared. But they believed in Cale. He gave them something they had not felt in a long time: hope. The elves had ruled the lands for over 300 years. They were beautiful, powerful, and cruel. When the Great War ended, the humans who survived were forced into labor camps, mines, and ruins like this one. Most had accepted their fate, but not Cale. He had found something, a strange object hidden deep in the earth. A round, glowing sphere made of metal and crystal. It hummed softly, like it was breathing. Cale didn't know what it was, but he felt its power. He called it Solrix. As the rebels gathered, Cale lifted the sphere into the torchlight. "Tonight," he said, his voice steady, "we stop being shadows. We begin to fight." Whispers filled the tunnel. Some were afraid. Others were ready. "What is that?" one of the younger fighters asked, staring at Solrix. "I don't know everything yet," Cale said, honest but calm. "But this was made by our ancestors, before the elves took it all. It remembers what we were, and it will help us become more." He pressed his hand to Solrix. The sphere glowed brighter, then flashed. Everyone stepped back, startled. Strange symbols lit up the tunnel walls, moving like fireflies. Some gasped. Some cried. This was proof. Proof that the humans were more than slaves. Far away in the shining elven capital, Princess Eloria Velthor woke from a dream. She sat up in her golden bed, her heart pounding. In her mind, she had seen a fire in the snow, a man holding a glowing light, and her people falling. She touched her chest, confused. "What was that?" she whispered. Outside, a servant called her name, but she didn't answer. Something had changed. Something ancient had awakened, and somehow it was calling to her. Back beneath Caroline Hold, Cale looked at the faces around him. "We won't win in a day," he said. "But we will show them that we are not broken. We are not beasts. We are human, and we will rise." As the torches flickered, and Solrix pulsed in his hands, a quiet fire began to burn. Not in the artifact, but in the hearts of the people. The rebellion had begun. The morning sun rose over the tall towers of the elven capital, its golden light shining across white marble streets and silver rooftops. Birds flew through the sky, and the air smelled of sweet blossoms. Everything looked calm, but Princess Eloria Velthor knew better. She stood in the war hall, dressed in dark armor instead of a royal gown. Her long silver hair was tied back, and her sharp green eyes studied the glowing map in front of her. Elven generals spoke around her, worried about what had happened in the north. "A human rebel group attacked one of our outposts near Caroline Hold," said General Fenril. "They were small but well organized." "Too well organized," Ilaria replied, her voice cold and focused. "Humans are not supposed to have strategy. Who is their leader?" "No name yet," Fenril said, "but there's something else. We found signs of ancient symbols near the site. The kind we haven't seen in centuries." Ilaria's eyes narrowed. She remembered her dream, the man in the snow, the light in his hand, the feeling of danger and change. "I will go myself," she said firmly. The room fell silent. Elven royalty did not usually take part in hunts, but Ilaria was not like other royals. "You, princess?" Fenril asked. "You are the heir to the throne." "I am also the best tracker in the Empire," she said. "If something old has awakened, I need to see it with my own eyes." That night she dressed in a hunter's cloak and left the capital with only 2 trusted guards. They moved quietly across frozen rivers and silent forests, heading north. Ilaria's mind stayed on the dream. It had felt too real. She did not believe in visions or fate, but something about it pulled at her. After days of travel, they reached the outskirts of Carolyn Hold. From the cliffs above, Ilaria saw the broken stones of the old human city. There were lights moving below. People, humans. She raised a spyglass and looked closer. They were training, learning, planning. Ilaria frowned. This was not normal. Humans were supposed to fear the elves, not gather to fight them. Then she saw him. A tall man with dark hair and a strong face. He was holding something in his hand, a glowing orb of light. The same light she had seen in her dream. Cale Thorne. She lowered the glass, her heart beating faster. Could it be him? Could he be the key to the strange changes she felt? "We move at dawn," she said to her guards. "But we don't attack. Not yet. I want to learn more about this man before I end him." Far below, Cale looked up at the cliffs, unaware he was being watched. He felt a chill run down his spine, as if something powerful had just noticed him. The game between hunter and hunted had begun, but neither of them knew which one they truly were. Snowflakes drifted gently over the ruins of Carolyn Hold as Cale stood near a fire with his closest fighters. The cold air bit at their skin, but their hearts were warm with purpose. Every day, more humans joined them, farmers, miners, even children who had seen too much sorrow. The rebels were no longer just a small group. They were becoming an army. At the center of their growing strength was Solrix, the glowing orb Cale had found underground. It now floated above a stone altar in the middle of their camp. Strange lines of light moved across its surface like living runes. Cale could feel it. Solrix was waking up. One night, as the wind howled outside their cave shelter, Cale touched the orb again. It responded with warmth, then a soft voice echoed in his mind. "I am Solrix, guardian of human will. Show me your purpose." Cale took a breath. "We want freedom. We want to break the chains the elves put on us." The orb pulsed. Symbols appeared in the air. Blueprints, maps, old human writings long forgotten. Solrix was not just a weapon. It was knowledge, hope wrapped in light. Cale called the other rebels. "This is our legacy," he told them. "We were never weak. They just made us forget who we were." Cheers echoed through the cavern. Plans were made. Teams were sent to steal supplies, scout elf patrols, and build safe roads through the forests. For the first time, the humans were not hiding. They were preparing. Far away, in a tent near the edge of the forest, Princess Ilaria watched all of this unfold from the shadows. Disguised in a simple cloak, she had entered the human lands pretending to be a traveler. No one recognized her. She had seen Cale up close, bold, clever, passionate. Nothing like the image of human she had grown up with. And when he spoke of freedom, even she, hidden in the back of the crowd, felt a strange pull in her heart. One night, Cale spotted her walking near the edge of the camp. She was alone and clearly didn't belong. He approached her with caution. "Name?" he asked. "Lena," she replied, using a false name. "I'm a healer. I want to help." He studied her face. There was something sharp in her eyes, something familiar. But her hands were gentle, and her words sincere. "All right," he said slowly, "but I'm watching you." Over the next few days, Ilaria helped treat wounded fighters. She shared knowledge about herbs and hidden forest paths. People began to trust her. Cale began to trust her too. They spoke at night by the fire. At first, their words were cautious, then curious, then warm. Cale didn't know she was an elven princess. Ilaria didn't expect to care about a human rebel. But something had begun between them, something neither could control. A spark in the snow. And soon it would become a fire. The snow was falling again, soft and silent, as Cale walked along the edge of the human camp. His thoughts were heavy. The rebellion was growing, but so was the danger. The elves would strike back soon. He could feel it in his bones. Beside him, Lena walked quietly. She had been with them for weeks now. She had healed the sick, trained the young, and even helped Cale solve problems no one else could. People trusted her. So did Cale. But trust is a dangerous thing. That evening, as the flames from the campfire danced in the cold wind, Kale and Lena sat side by side. They didn't speak at first. The silence between them was calm, not awkward. Finally, Kale said, "You've changed things, you know." She looked at him, her green eyes shining in the firelight. "How?" "You made people believe we can win. Even me." Lena lowered her gaze. Her heart was pulling in two directions. One toward her people and her duty, the other toward this man who saw the world so differently. And yet, made it feel full of light. "Kale," she whispered, unsure what to say next. But Kale had already leaned closer. Slowly, gently, he kissed her. It was not a kiss of passion, but of quiet understanding. Two people sharing something in a world that rarely gave them peace. Then everything shattered. A sharp horn blew in the night air. Screams followed. The elves were here. Arrows flew over the walls. Fires were lit. Chaos spread across the camp as armored elven soldiers rushed in. Kale jumped to his feet, sword in hand. "They found us," he shouted. But the hardest blow came next. One of Kale's trusted scouts stumbled into view, bleeding. "It was her," he gasped. "The healer. She's not who she says she is." Kale turned to Lena. Her hood had fallen back. Her silver hair now glowed in the firelight. The truth was clear. "Elven," he breathed. "I didn't call them," she said quickly, her voice shaking. "I didn't tell them. I swear it." Kale's face was filled with pain and disbelief. He had trusted her. He had kissed her. "You lied," he said. "I didn't mean to," she said. "I came to spy, yes, but I stayed because of you. I stayed because I saw something better." Kale didn't answer. He grabbed his sword and ran toward the heart of the battle. Behind him, Eloria stood frozen. She had faced monsters, war, and death. But nothing hurt more than the look in Kale's eyes. The humans pushed back the elves that night. The camp was saved, but something inside Kale had broken. He ordered her locked in the stone prison beneath the hold. No trial. No farewell. Just silence between two people who had almost changed the world, and now stood on opposite sides of it. The fire that had once warmed them now burned them both. Cold stone surrounded Eloria as she sat in the small prison room beneath Carolyn Hold. Her hands were chained, but her mind was far away. She thought of Kale, his voice, his eyes, the moment he had kissed her, and the moment he turned away. The cell was dark except for a small crack in the wall where moonlight slipped in. She had been taught that humans were simple, weak, and full of hate. But Kale had shown her something else. Strength mixed with kindness, pain mixed with hope. Now, because of who she was, everything had fallen apart. Above her, the camp was still recovering. The elven attack had taken lives, destroyed supplies, and left deep wounds. Kale walked through the camp every day, speaking with his people, helping the injured and giving orders. But something in him had changed. He no longer smiled. He no longer spoke of peace. Kale's closest friend, Rin, who had died during the surprise attack, had been like a brother to him. His death weighed heavily on Kale's heart, and Elaria's presence reminded him of that pain. Many in the camp wanted her executed. She was the enemy after all. But Kale refused. "She stays locked up," he said. "Nothing more." One night, Kale stood outside her cell. He didn't enter, just watched her from behind the bars. She looked up, her voice soft. "I didn't bring them, I swear to you." "I know," he said after a long pause. "But that doesn't change what happened." "I'm sorry." "I don't want your sorry, princess. I want my people safe." Then he walked away, leaving her in the cold silence. Meanwhile, deep in the Elven capital, the High Emperor, Elaria's father, was furious. His best general had vanished, and his soldiers had failed to crush the rebellion. Worse, strange signs were appearing across the land, symbols of ancient human power, lights in the sky, whispers of a weapon waking from the past. The Emperor summoned a secret council. "We must act before the humans rise too far," he said. "Find the rebel leader. Bring him to me alive." Scouts were sent in all directions. Bribes were paid to traders, and one of them, a human deserter, gave Kale's location in exchange for gold and freedom. A new plan was set in motion. Back at Caroline Hold, Kale discovered new secrets from Solrix. The glowing orb showed him blueprints for machines of war, defenses hidden in old ruins, and paths into the heart of the Elven capital. But none of it filled the space left by Ilaria's betrayal. In the shadows, Ilaria sat alone, wondering if Kale would ever see her as more than just a lie. And in the halls of the Elven King, the wheels of war began to turn faster. The humans thought they had time. But the Empire was ready to strike again. This time, with Kale as their target. The sky turned dark as clouds gathered above Caroline Hold. A cold wind blew through the camp. Something felt wrong, like the storm was not just in the sky, but inside the people too. Kale stood at the edge of the cliffs, looking at the distant trees. Solrix floated beside him, glowing softly. It had been showing him more visions, more tools of the past, but none of it took away the pain inside him. He had been strong for his people, brave in battle, and focused on the mission. But the weight of loss, betrayal, and war was wearing him down. Then, without warning, the trap was sprung. It happened at dawn. Dozens of Elven soldiers, wearing dark armor and moving like shadows, broke through the outer guard. The humans fought back, but they were outnumbered. The enemy had known the secret tunnels. Someone had told them. Kale was dragged from his tent, struck in the head, and chained. Solrix was taken. Rebels were captured or killed. In just a few hours, the camp was gone. Only ashes remained. Kale was taken in chains, his head bloody, his spirit burning. They brought him to the Elven capital. The streets he passed were silent, the people staring. A human in chains was a rare sight, and a rebel leader even more so. But Kale kept his head high. His hands were bound, but his pride was not. In the golden throne hall, he stood before the High Emperor, tall, cold, and dressed in white and silver. His voice echoed across the chamber. "You have caused much trouble, human," the Emperor said. "But you are clever, brave. Join us. Rule your kind under my will, or die." Kale smiled, even with blood on his lip. "I'd rather die free than live as your puppet." The Emperor's face stayed calm, but his eyes were full of fire. "Then you will suffer." Kale was thrown into the deepest cell beneath the palace. The walls were damp, and the air was heavy. Days passed. He was beaten, questioned, and left alone. But one night the door creaked open. A soft light entered. It was Ilaria. She had escaped her prison with the help of a few secret allies. She now wore black armor and a cloak. No longer a princess, but a fighter. Kale looked at her in shock. "Why are you here?" "I'm getting you out," she said. "And I'm sorry for everything. I don't trust you. You don't have to. Just follow me." Together, they moved through secret passages she had learned as a child. Guards searched for them, but Ilaria was fast and quiet. Kale, though weak, kept going. When they reached the outer gates, the storm broke. Rain poured from the sky and thunder roared. It was as if the world itself was waking up. Kale and Ilaria escaped into the dark, hunted, wounded, but alive. Behind them, the Empire burned with rage. Ahead of them, the future was uncertain. But for the first time, they were on the same side. The forest was quiet as Kale and Ilaria moved through the mist. They had escaped the Elven capital, but the danger was not over. The Emperor had sent his best trackers after them. Every sound in the woods made them freeze. Every shadow felt like a threat. Kale was still weak from the prison, but he walked with determination. Ilaria stayed close, guiding him through secret paths only a royal would know. After many days of travel, they reached the ancient ruins of Elendaris. The place was hidden deep in the mountains, a forgotten city once built by the first humans, long before the elves ruled. Now it was broken and covered in moss, but still powerful. Solrix had shown Kale this place in a vision. "We're here," Kale said quietly. They stepped inside the main hall of the ruins. A large stone circle stood in the center. Symbols glowed faintly around it. Solrix, which Ilaria had taken back during the escape, floated toward the circle and settled into place. Light burst from the ground. A wave of heat and energy swept through the room. Kale dropped to his knees as the light wrapped around him. His body shook. His veins burned like fire. Ilaria ran to him. Kale. But he held up a hand. "It's okay," he said through gritted teeth. "It's waking something inside me." Solrix had chosen him, not just as a leader, but as the first flame-bearer in centuries. His eyes glowed with golden fire. His hands sparked with energy. He could feel the memories of old warriors, the strength of human ancestors, and the hope of his people all flowing through him. Ilaria stepped back, amazed. "You're one of them now." Kale stood slowly. "No, I'm more. I'm all of them, and everything they fought for." But they weren't alone. All around Elendaris, human rebels and a few secret elven allies had gathered. Word had spread. The flame-bearer had returned. People came from distant villages and forests, ready to stand against the Empire one last time. Kale stood before them. His voice was clear and strong. "We have been hunted, enslaved, and forgotten," he said. "But no more. Today we rise together, human and elf, to end the rule of fear. We fight not for revenge, but for a future where no one bows to anyone." Ilaria stepped beside him. "My father will never allow peace. We must face him and destroy the throne." Solrix lit up, revealing the truth. The throne was not just a seat. It was a source of power. To destroy it would break the elven control forever. But it would also come at a great cost. Kel knew what he had to do. The war was no longer just about freedom. It was about ending the past so the future could begin. The final battle was coming. And this time, they would fight it together. The sky burned red as the armies gathered outside the gates of the elven capital. Humans and elves stood side by side, united by a common hope and a shared enemy. Kale, now glowing with the power of the flame-bearer, stood at the front, his sword shining bright. Ilaria was beside him, her eyes fierce and steady. "This is it," Kale said softly, looking at her. "The end of a long story." Ilaria nodded, and the start of something new. The battle began with a roar. Arrows flew, swords clashed, and magic lit up the dark sky. The elven guards fought fiercely, but the rebels were stronger, driven by years of pain and the promise of freedom. Kale moved through the chaos like a storm. Flames danced from his hands, burning through the enemy lines. Ilaria called down shadows to protect their friends, moving with grace and power. Together, they were unstoppable. But the greatest challenge was still ahead. The throne room. The High Emperor waited there, surrounded by his most loyal warriors. Kale and Ilaria pushed forward, breaking through waves of enemies. When they reached the throne, the Emperor stood tall, his face calm but his eyes full of anger. "You think you can end me?" he said. "This throne is my power. It is eternal." Kale raised Solrix, now glowing brighter than ever. "No. This throne is the symbol of your control. Today it ends." Ilaria stepped beside him, her hand on his arm. "We don't fight just with power. We fight with hope, with love." The Emperor attacked, and the battle became fierce. Kale and Ilaria fought as one, their powers combining in ways no one had ever seen. Flames and shadows twisted around them, breaking the magic of the throne. Finally, with a burst of light, the throne shattered. The power that had kept the Empire strong faded away. Kale fell to his knees, the power of Solrix draining from him. Ilaria caught him, her eyes full of tears. "You don't have to be alone." "I'm not alone," Kale whispered. "Not anymore." The battle ended. The people cheered. The elven rule was broken, and a new era began, one where humans and elves could live as equals. Kale and Ilaria stood together, tired but smiling. They had faced enemies, betrayal, and war. But the strongest force had been something unexpected: love. "We weren't born enemies," Elaria said softly. "Maybe we were born to end it." Kale took her hand. Together. As the sun rose, its warm light spread across the land. The chains of the past were broken, and for the first time in centuries, hope grew like fire in every heart. The rebellion had been won, not by power alone, but by the courage to believe in each other. And that was the true magic.